It's usually the one that wants to grab that up. So we may see, you know, the curse evolving. Let's see how they can adapt now with Coast on blue.
Gonna have to see if they can evolve to this new and Shen ban here too. I mean, those are pretty common bans here. We've seen a lot of the globals being taken out. Shen on one side, Karthus on the other side. So TF here would be the last one. And we have seen Shiphtur definitely does have a very deep champion pool, so he could pull a Twisted Fate, but he hasn't used him yet. So it's kind of safe, you know, to even let that one through.
An easy one. And there, yeah, locking it in. Twisted Fate goes quickly to Coast. Curse now to answer back. Not seen Saint on too much other than Jarvan. I think a few times onto Zach. He doesn't like the least, but that is actually gone. I was going to say it's open for Voyboy, but it was the first ban that came out as it went past me.
Yeah, and you know, Saint, he's definitely been quick to pick up that Nautilus too.
Yeah,
I think
he was actually played within the last time they faced.
I think Jao was saying, like, whenever Saint really wants to win, he locks in Nautilus quickly. We'll have to see if they actually decide to go for a different strategy here though, because having Twisted Fate on the other team just kind of changes your whole mentality here. And Shiphtur is definitely the playmaker for Team Coast. So having that ability to teleport is really strong for Team Coast here.
Well, the Hook City Mayors can definitely approach from both sides. Blitzcrank's left open, and we got Thresh coming out for Curse. Looks like Cop is actually going to go with a little bit of the passivity and Ezreal on this game.
Yeah, so he's going to have a lot of mobility, actually.
Right.
If they do go with that Blitzcrank pick, it's actually a great answer. If you're sitting on Ezreal, that's one of the only AD carries where you just feel completely safe because you can Arcane Shift as soon as that Blitzcrank pulls
Get yourself right out. Going across the picks, let's see what they comp with a little bit of their global pressure that they have going out, and they do take the Jarvan away from Saintvicious, played, like we said, in this last game since Nautilus was kind of taken about.
And I really love this pick too because not only does Nintendude get to use Jarvan, which he's been a really big fan of recently, but also it takes away the dangerous combo of like Jarvan and Lissandra, which has been used to keep TFs down in that mid lane, where they just repeatedly over and over gank the middle. And since Saintvicious, his Lee Sin is not really feared in the community, they don't feel like that's going to be another pick for Curse here.
And what kind of composition do we see that Curse is kind of creating here?
Well, they did lock in the half of that Lissandra.
Right.
So that is definitely a great tool for setting up team fights because she does have her own movement displacement and AoE CC. She can start things out and then either use Zanya's or her ultimate to go immune and pretty much keep her safe as long as she does not get stunned up. So it's a very, very team fight-oriented build here for Curse. Along with that, Nasus means they do have the objective control, and they would not be scared to go for early dragons.
We do see the Riven getting locked in. Doesn't decide to go for the Rumble top lane. It seems like they have enough AP on the map already for Coast, so we do have ZionSpartan going with his patented Riven. Has been known to turn games around, but also is a champion that, if it doesn't get going, can kind of hurt a team as well.
Yeah, well, probably seeing Nintendo make use of that Jarvan early game aggression that we talked about to get him going early. We love ZionSpartan to get the early ganks. Every time you see him start to snowball, especially on a champion like Riven where he can build full offense, then those are the good games for Team Coast.
And what can we have going into the top lane onto this one, Edward? 15 seconds left to hover over as the team discusses. You can see him there on your screen as Curse decides to lock in their final pick here for the 4th game of the day, and they do decide to go with that Kassadin. We'll see how this works out for him.
Now, they could switch it up because Voyboy plays a mean Kassadin, but Kassadin's very hard to use in one of the long lanes because his early game laning phase is very weak, and you can punish it very easily, especially with this aggressive early team that Team Coast are rocking here. But as soon as Kassadin hits level 6, he's a great counter to Twisted Fate in lane, and they could actually pull a mid-game switch and send Voyboy to keep down Shiphtur and keep on harassing him so that he can't put pressure on the other lane.
That objective of just staying in the face of your opponent, which isn't something we've usually seen Nyjacky accustomed to ever since we've heard, you know, back in the spring split at the start of, I think, the Christmas break where everybody was ramping up for the LCS. He's like, I'm starting to learn 80 casters. I'm starting to learn to be more aggressive, and we're going to have to see if that works out here for him. Oh, the swap at the last second. Lissandra on Nyjacky. Voyboy takes Kassadin in the top lane.
So he plays a very mean Kassadin, and that's why I want want to give props to the Voyboy Kassadin here, but we'll have to still see what lane they end up sending him to for the beginning of the game, because the beginning of the game on Kassadin really determines a lot. If the other team is able to punish you and zone you out, and keep you from getting that level 6 any longer, then it's really going to hinder Curse's overall game plan.
We'll have to see what this does to Coast. This means they adapt in the beginning. They're still seeing the same champions, and they're still getting AP in both lanes, but the matchup may be something they want to consider now.
Yeah, I mean, with that double AP composition, definitely the Bulwark is going to be very important over to Team Coast here, too. So I have to see if Nintendude on Jarvan rushes that Bulwark, or if they, relegate those duties to someone like Daydreamin. Either way, I feel like the Bulwark is going to come in a little bit later for Coast. And wow, so many.
They want the Nexus right now, 24 seconds in, multiple pings, as Coast wastes all the pings they can use for the match right in the beginning there. So Rivington III and Kobe bringing you match 4 here. Week 5 coming into the North American LCS, the League Championship Series, bringing you awesome league play every single week. Coast versus Curse is the matchup we are on right now, as Coast seems to just hatch the ward right behind red buff that Curse is placed.
And we're definitely putting so much emphasis on the early game here, because look at Nintendude on the jungle. Jarvan has started with a Doran's Blade and no lifesteal quints. Usually when we see either the jungle Udyr or the jungle Lee Sins start with those Doran Blades, they bring at least one lifesteal quint so that they can sustain through the jungle. But on that Jarvan, Nintendude is just going to probably take an early back after he does get the buffs. This is going to be a really interesting bush gank here, because the team is split.
Oh, they know the crowd control is there. They don't have too much other than Edward to lock that up. Nyjacky actually backed out of the bush first, and he has taken Q, so they need to walk right away from that.
Yeah, the Q's not going to offer much to the level 1 fight there. That's some extra damage, but especially since Curse were split 4 vs 5.
Yeah.
We've seen this mistake made so many times by teams. Setting up a trap in the bush is great, but if you're the team with less numbers, then it's not going to be in your favor either way.
Once they figure it out at this level, they react within seconds. We'll see if this goes back and forth for him. Doesn't look like anybody else is going to give too much more harassment. We do have the lane swap coming in for that Ezreal Thresh back into the top lane, which means the jungler is going to be focusing on those solo lanes for ZionSpartan and Voyboy respectively in the 2v1s.
Yeah, and the early, you gotta have to keep your eyes on Nintendude for the beginning of this game, because like I said, he has no sustain at all. He's just getting that passive there on the Doran's Blade, which is 5 life on hit. So basically what he does, he'll get both his buffs to get that level 3, and then probably have to recall to heal up, and then look for a gank.
Zion just trying to get within XP soak-up range in that top lane. Good harassment for the first few levels until Nintendude can make his way up there. Nintendude quite low as he's coming onto this buff. And it looks like Saint, you can see just how much better off he is in the jungle. So, like you said, we have to really keep a focus on this because it's super interesting.
Yeah, so it's more gold efficient technically, since you're not spending money on consumables in those potions, but it means you can't get to lane like Saintvicious is doing right now as quickly. And he's going to be a few seconds behind Saintvicious to this lane, so we'll have to see if that actually makes a difference or not. Because this is just a Nasus jungle, and really he's just coming to shove the lane. And
they can do whatever they want, being on top of their game. Edward goes and places that Tribush ward quite fast. Looks like we got a few summoners going down in the middle lane as well. Ignite down from Nyjacky as he gets dove a bit by Shiphtur there. Looks like these guys are going aggressive in just about every lane.
It's interesting that we do have both junglers heading to the same lane too, to kind of end up in a stalemate here. But again, with Nintendude starting with that Doran's Blade, technically he's a bit ahead of Saintvicious because he didn't waste extra gold on those potions.
Ignite rather from Nyjacky onto the bottom lane. They got me all mixed up on their positions. Voyboy pressuring Shiphtur out, quite low on mana, and he's really harassing him down, keeping him away from the turret, but Voyboy's happy to stick with that. Like you said, he's just got to keep tabs on wherever Shiphtur's going. He's not even 6 yet.
Yeah, and this change in the lanes up top means that Voyboy doesn't have to worry about those early ganks, and his early Kassadin game that we're talking about being so important is actually going to go off really well right now, because once you hit level 6, you have to become a lot less worried about the ganks. Once he gets that Rift Walk, he has a free escape, and he can use that to back out.
You got to consider, too, that this is kind of allowing Nintendude to do this start without any problem. He's 1 CS up on this. Saintvicious is hugging the top turret, so that Doran's Blade start really hasn't affected him at all. It's kind of just there.
Yeah, he did lose out on the opportunity to make his early presence felt.
That's true.
And actually, we did just hear in the last interview with Mandatory Cloud, when we have these 2-versus-1 lane switches for both solo lanes, it takes pressure off of the mid lane because the junglers are always going to the long side lanes, and the junglers are not ganking the mid lanes like usual.
Doesn't decide to go all the way in, just throwing up the hook. They get some good damage down. Nintendude getting chunked out, but that's going to be turret damage going to Saintvicious. These guys really want this turret right now. They are not giving up the jungle pressure.
Yeah, and actually, it's the Curse turret that has more damage on it. So this stalemate up in that top lane is actually going in Team Coast's favor.
Pretty good siege clear from Alessandro, but it's not going to be enough when you're continuously getting pushed. Another wave to come up here. Oh. The engagement in the top lane. Spartan back. Edward takes a turret shot, but again, safety. They are just harassing so much, but losing health. They got to be careful.
Very dangerous. Actually, either side could land the kill with the CC that they have available to them because of that last exchange and the tower hits. Two members of Curse tried recall, but a nice lawn dart there from Nintendude stops him in his tracks.
Both teams are super sure about what they want to do. This is just brute force fighting back and forth in front of that turret. Finally pushed out here. We'll see if Curse can activate something. The turret in the bottom lane going to go down. Yes, Curse does try to go in. They may be able to get onto Edward. The turret and first blood going over to Coast.
Coast are in a great position right now. Not only did they get that first blood and the first turret, but Voyboy got his alone time with Shiphtur that he really wanted. Starting Cloth 5 with no wards meant that Voyboy would have had a hard time if the Jarvan was roaming. No roving Jarvan means that he was able to just sustain through the early game. He's level 5 right now, almost level 6. Now he's got Rift Walk, and he is going to be a menace. He actually has the great potential for roaming now because getting a tier on top of that means plenty of mana.
We'll have to also consider, we talked a lot about Saint playing Nautilus. He wants to win with that. With this, as Nasus, you know him more of as a lane bully. Come in with Spirit Fire. They're going to have to change up their game to wanting to always kill to now wanting to push all the time?
Well, they're definitely going to have to start looking for the objectives because that's Nasus' other strength, really. If their shoving game did not work, the early shove actually turned against them, the next opportunity that they have would be trying to rush, some Dragon Global Gold for themselves, make use of that Nasus ultimate, and it looks like it's going to be Coast that are going to run all over this one because of the AD and support switch lanes.
Coast bringing out not a very early Dragon, but quite an early Dragon from what we've seen this season. It's going to be quite easy for them. No pressure coming from any of the lanes. And nobody's really going to grab an advantage off it from Curse either. They're all back on the back foot.
Exactly. Basically, Coast took that opportunity to make it with the 2-versus-1 switch. Here goes Twisted Fate.
He goes right in on a Saint. Saint gets hit up, doesn't get a chance to grab his blue. Nyjacky actually activates the E, goes in, throws his ulti onto Shiphtur. Still have the W crowd control for him if he wants it. They're going to be forcing flashes here. Shiphtur on the backside does pull a gold card to keep himself safe in any event, but it looks like both will walk away with some scratches.
Ooh, great save there by Nyjacky. Saintvicious really owes him his life right now. But with all that action at the blue buff, we are going to finally see Curse answering for turrets. So at least they do get that global gold back, even though the blue buff was stolen away.
They are definitely taking a good amount of harassment. Coast is making sure it's always being pressured onto them. If not in that top lane, on the bottom lane where it was taken, and that was good pressure by them. They took the bottom turret. That blue becomes a lot easier to take in the first place.
It's really been great objective management here by Coast, and I have to give a lot of the props to Nintendude because this was basically enabled by his Doran Blade start with 0 lifesteal.
Yeah.
He just wanted them for the extra HP pool because he immediately went back up to the turret there with Zion and brought some potions with him to just sustain and defend that turret. And then, because he had so much life from those double Dorans, they were able to tank that early Dragon and get the global gold lead down there.
It was a little wild that he decided to go for a second one, but it is truly paying off for them here. As we get 9 minutes into the game, they find themselves about 1,600 golden lead. That turret, as we said, was evened up just a minute ago in the top lane, so they have traded just the flip side on top and bottom turrets. We'll see what the AD carries decide to go after this. It looks like they're going to put 3 bottom. Jacky's going to stay for a possible gank.
And there's no wards in the bushes here, so if Curse can do a good enough job baiting in DontMashMe and Daydreamin, there's the ward.
Oh, the ward goes out. Daydreamin forced to flash, though, and cutting out that Wilder Girth. Yeah, Zyra's ultimate. Stranglethorn, there we go. Need quick shot on the desk.
The Stranglethorns come down. But yeah, so that ward, it saw Nyjacky. They still got a free flash out of it. I mean, they had 4 people commit down there, so there was a flash, but that means that 4 people down bottom, Coast are going to make their move up top.
And this is what they've been doing the entire game. Something's been happening. They have vision. They take the upper hand and the advantage. The top turret goes down in their favor. That's going to be 14,000 gold to 11,000 now. We'll see what kind of pressure Curse can activate off of this. Still, we have Saint going back, so they can't really answer anything right now. It's them building up. They know this is not going to be an early game pushback for them.
They're definitely struggling to keep up with the calls that are coming down from Coast. They're always on the back foot here, and they're just trying to react to the pressure that Coast are putting out without even having to use that the second Destiny here from Twisted Fate. First one did grab that blue buff.
And with the Dorans kind of going around, you can see that early quick damage being built because they know they were engaging the fights and they would come out on top. Nintendude getting caught out here. Look at that though. Look at the HP bars between these two. Saint has just about as much right now after doing that damage, but they are going to get caught up. Nyjacky on the roam from bottom lane comes up with Lissandra. They can continue here. The Spirit Fire shutting down ZionSpartan. There's not enough to continue. The True Shot Barrage just wide.
That is just what Curse needed. They had to catch somebody out, and it was a good pick for them, but they've still got a long ways to go. We've got a free farming Vayne down in the bottom lane, so they need to make this pressure middle count for something.
Oh, Saintvicious getting caught out quite hard there. Another turret shot to him. That red buff that actually just wore off. Thought it might be transferred, but they stay safe there. MashMe farming away in the bottom lane. The Vayne free farm begins.
Yeah, whenever you do have a hard push like that, the wave clear of your opponents is very important. And a blue buff TF plus Zyra is such a strong wave clearing combination that there's no answer here for Curse. And DontMashMe was able to use that free time bottom to gain a nice 20 CS lead.
And you can see the consideration Curse is taking without the Sightstone right now. And Coast to keep the advantage up. Wards going into each one of their inventories, and they have to. And those wards aren't going to be going down in their jungle. They have to go on the entrance to make sure that Coast is staying out.
Yeah, they're going to basically try and use those wards to replace the vision that their towers gave them before that are now down. So they are going to put sort of a river defensive ward up here because they do not want to have their second blue buff stolen. Double AP comps really, really rely on at least one of those blue buffs. They'd love to be able to have Voyboy use it and roam around to create kills on that Kassadin.
And we got to see what Curse has been doing here as well, because they did start to get aggressive very early. They were in a bad spot, but they've almost focused the game and turned it to have Coast focus on objectives as well. They're saying you won't get the kills, and we'll break this down to at least every time our teams are together for a fight. Again, they back away from each other.
Yeah, Saintvicious was walking on a ward though, so fairly dangerous, but because he is that tanking Nasus, able to lay down his own ward and pull back out. Look how they've already sort of lost the vision control of their blue side jungle though, and Curse want to make them pay for this invade.
This is what I was talking about, Kobe, when they can come together for the fight. Saintvicious is there with the team. Nintendude has done so much damage. The Stranglethorn initial damage was amazing as well. Saintvicious onto the backside. Can he get that last Q down? It's not going to be enough. They take him down. Daydreamin stays alive. Now the focus changes over to Cop. Very low mana. Arcane Shiphtur to use. Force the flash over the wall. Can you follow with the flag toss? I don't think it's going to be enough. Cop walks out of this one, but Curse not looking good. Actually, they're quite close here. He's going to have it. The gold card goes down. The flag toss from Nintendude doesn't even need it. Comes up with the Q kill.
And Shiphtur has level 2 boots already. You know, he didn't go with those swiftness, but Mercury Treads are definitely stronger than the old brown bag level 1 boots, and that's plenty of movement speed for him to catch up to that one. They get another kill on top of it here, and that was basically because Curse were focusing on the support Zyra there. Voyboy took so much damage early by just walking towards Zyra that he had no answer. He was not able to get out of that one.
Great positioning here by Coast. Nintendude held that fight quite a while by himself, so props to him coming out of that engagement. 13.5 in. Coast looks to grab themselves more advantages with a 6,000 gold lead. 4-1 in kills, but only one more turret has been dropped, so the game is actually moving quite slow.
And a giant chunk of money on Vayne would mean that Coast are fine with it moving at this pace right now. That huge minion wave built up during that extended T-fight around Dragon. So not only Coast get Dragon, but they got a ton of farm onto DontMashMe right now.
Blade of the Rune King already finished up on him, like you said. That ton of gold equaling a 1,200 gold mass over Cop at this point in the game. Looking at the summoner spells, looking at pretty much the map right now to see where the engagements are being. We can see that Curse definitely taking their time. Power and numbers in the middle. They want to try to break this down. That'll give them a little bit more control over the buffs at least, and the wardage they need to start putting out.
Yeah, it is really interesting that Coast have been focusing all of their invade efforts over on this blue side. They put their wards to not only get blue buff, but after winning that blue buff fight, you automatically can transition very easily into a dragon.
We got pings going down again towards that blue buff as we speak of it. We'll have to see if it gets any pressure. It's actually just the point there to know there was a ward, and they're going to go play it safe. Get in the bottom lane. We'll see what Coast can do to push mid here. Vayne still free farming in the bottom lane, but that's only 20 CS up onto Cop right now. It's actually quite a low CS game considering what we've seen so far.
Yeah, there have been so many fights and so many roaming movements that Curse have had to react to that they are keeping the CS numbers a little bit lower. Now we can see the focus, though, turning up towards top, and all of the wards, as they disappear from the blue jungle of Curse, are being placed anew in the red side jungle.
And you can see the early aggression that Curse faced here. They're definitely going for the long haul builds. The Tear of the Goddess on Cassidy, as well as the Catalyst going into the Rod of Ages. So they're looking for this game to go later and get that money, not free money, but get them stats and money, and then get themselves ready to fight.
Exactly, and they're using the wave control so well. Every time they have a cannon minion built up, this is the side of the map they're going to. Because there was one up in that top lane, and they just sort of solo push it until two more members can join them from the side. Really great minion management here by Coast to not lose their advantage.
It's going to be interesting to see when Curse can come in with this fight. We haven't really seen them aggress into anything. They have it with Lissandra, they have the hook, they have Voyboy to be in and out, and something to tank in that fight with Nasus. So really, Curse hasn't been able to engage yet. Coast doing a very good job of staying spread and really kind of all pushing the lanes at the same time.
Yeah, Coast would love to be able to catch somebody out with a Lissandra pick or with a Kassadin Rift Walk and slow onto someone, but they just haven't had the opportunity because there's so much pressure on their turrets. This lane pressure from Coast will not give them the opportunity to look for the picks that they need.
I just think this becomes the do-si-do in middle here. Everybody starts to gather. It's who can poke better, who can get that turret first. And we see as we crawl towards the right side, ZionSpartan's getting a little bit of a roam on for back wards. And maybe also push on this turret and the mid turret.
ZionSpartan is confident in solo pushing at this point because he not only does he have his Bloodthirster, but he also has the Merc Treads to reduce any sort of CC if they do come to try and catch him. And Coast, again, take another objective.
They're kind of just doing this whenever they please. Curse is really just sitting back. They had Voyboy, they had Nyjacky there, a bit of damage they could have dealt out, but they didn't even want the poke. They're trying to save everything for the hard engage. Definitely giving respect to Coast in this lane pressure right now.
Yeah, and Coast can continue to push two lanes at once because they have plenty of vision inside Curse's jungle, and Curse do not have a global to come in and surprise turn around any ganks here, so Coast will see every movement that Curse are trying to make right now. This is really the hardest opportunity to be in when you're behind, is this full vision control of your entire jungle here for Curse.
And it is becoming vision control, objective control. It's 4-1, and those kills have come off of Nintendude, a 3-1 Jarvan. So they're not slaughtering people around the map. They're hitting it at the right time and then hitting the right spot, always grabbing an objective even after one kill.
The really important story have been the objectives that they're getting after the kills. No kill has just been a kill. It's been a kill plus a blue buff and a dragon, or an entire team fight. So they've done a really great job rotating here, and we'll see now that they're actually going to pressure bottom side once again. The blue buff coming up, they turn their attention, they're going to counter this blue buff, and then there'll be another minute or so to grab the next dragon as well.
Lackadaisical, not at all. Daydreamin and team staying on top of everything, even if it's just a blue timer. Oracle's out for them. Daydreamin standing still and dodging left and right. Kind of just playing the standstill mind game.
That's an interesting take on the battle for mayor of Hook City. He doesn't dodge the hook from Thresh. It's all the mind games here. Edward expecting a dodge, but it doesn't come out.
There's the E coming in. They know Nyjacky down for at least a good 8 seconds on that initiation. So they wait back and bated breath here. Gold card onto Shiphtur. A blue buff for him, so that'll be up quite soon. Let's see if we have an Oracle on Edward here. We do not. It doesn't look like he has one. And still, we can see only Sightstones coming in for the support. So this game has gone slow overall. for everything in the economy.
A little bit slow, but it should speed up pretty soon here because we've got 4 members of Coast at this bottom turret, and we just had Voyboy recall. So if Curse can actually chase this 4-man group down, keep them from recalling, which they can't, they just let them go for Dragon for free. They could have chased them over to Dragon and forced that 4 versus 5, but since they don't have vision, it's not going to happen, and Coast again pick up the next global objective.
The thing that gets scarier is, yeah, Coast was able to pick up, you know, the 1 buff, the 1 turret after that, right? But now they have the Lich Bane. They have the finished Blade of the Rune King for quite a while now. That Bloodthirster onto ZionSpartan. So it's going to be more than 1 turret if they get a kill here. The ultimate going on to Nyjacky, trying to make himself invulnerable, saves himself successfully, and gets out of that fight. But that is a big ultimate in the initiation we've been talking about Curse not having now.
It is a huge cooldown that's not going to be available, and it makes it even worse because he hasn't been able to finish his Zanyas. So not only will he not be able to initiate, you know, he's got no immunity. Oh, there we go. Now he'll have the invulnerability to fall back on, but still they won't be able to lock down an important target on Coast. Either the Zion or the DontMashMe, even Shiphtur right now. Pretty much any target, they'd love to lock down at least one of them.
Looking at the inventories, those CS scores we haven't touched on too much yet. 188 in favor of ZionSpartan to 126 on Voyboy, AP to AD. So there's a discrepancy there, but they're still going to get the job done with the CS that they have. So not a big deal. The AD carries staying pretty even, 159 to 164. That was actually just completely even. In the mids, only about 10 off here. It's really been in complete map control for Coast. It doesn't worry about the stats. It's not about the stats rather for them right now.
And I'm very impressed with Coast right now. It seems like they have evolved their game. Usually they are all about getting kills, and they love having duels and heads-up battles.
Yeah,
and they would rack up their gold leads by killing their opponents. But because they've only got 4, and it's almost a 10K gold lead, only 9K, but they've been able to rack most of that up with the map control and without having to rely on the bounties from kills.
And Curse has tried to, you said earlier, they tried to do the job of slowing down Coast, and it worked for a while. But Coast said, all right, after the few kills, let's do turrets. And the objectives have been completely in their favor, almost having the bulwark now after the locket onto Nintendude, who again, we have to point out, started the Doran start, bought a second Doran, so he didn't come to the jungle with any consumables. And it seemed to work out well for them because they kept Saint in the top lane the entire early game.
Yeah, whenever your jungler is starting out with one of those Dorans, you're looking to snowball the game because that's a huge early advantage, and you want to continue to roll that through. This is just such a very different look from Coast because not only are they controlling the map, but they also actually have Nintendo building full tank here, which usually they don't build a tank. They usually all go for some damage here, but they are getting those very important team fighting items as well. So even if Curse get to the late game here, Team Coast have so many answers.
And there's such a discrepancy. You know, I said the CS was even, but in power right now between the two AD carries. The Bloodthirster Glacial Shroud forced in for Cobb. Yeah, it's part of his build, but it's going to hurt that kind of plateau of damage that he's getting. And right now, Coast is being aggressive mid-turret. Looks like they want these fights.
And even if Cobb does finish the Iceborne Gauntlets, it's not going to be such a huge deal for Ghost because that's the main point of that item is for kiting and the extended team fights. But Team Coast are looking to have Shiphtur initiate with the gold card and then follow that up with Nintendo. There's so much damage. They're going to be bursting down targets so quickly. There will be not much opportunity for those for that kiting potential to come through.
So much gap close potential after that first initiation from Coast. You can see it in the eyes of Curse that they fear that right now. You're going to allow this turret to go down with practically 0 minions on the front line.
And they actually are not even using TF to split push. With the Destiny down, they can just straight up take 5 vs 5 fights at towers and continually poke over and over with those wild cards.
Curse having to put 5 strong in mid. Top lane is pushing. Bottom lane is just past River in their favor. Going on to Nintendude. That's the 3-in-1 Jarvan they have to take down, but was it the right focus? Nyjacky very low right now. The Zanya stops the Wind Slash. They get good kills coming out, 1 per side, and Curse looking good after that.
Great trade there from Curse. They were able to take down their priority target. They got the burst and a free blast there from Daydreamin. Voyboy very threatening on that Kassadin. But it was a great counter initiation. We've said it so many times. Zyra, one of the hardest champions in the game to dive in onto there. And you just saw why that Stranglethorn's knockup allowed them to answer with a kill onto Nyjacky, who, by the way, has an invulnerability. He's got that Zanya, so they were still able to pick up a kill there.
Double locking himself up, so definitely proved useful for Curse, but how many times can you instantly focus down a Jarvan and get that result in the fight? They were next to their turret, so it worked out a little bit better. But like I said, that looks good for Curse and could definitely happen again. The Sheen picked up with the Iceborne Gauntlet, so those fights may be longer for them, but we talked about the dive potential and the gap closing of Coast, so Cop is going to have to play that Iceborne exceptionally well to keep that kite going.
Yeah, I mean, they could burst down the Jarvan again, but Jarvan is actually the most tanky person on Team Coast, so the next fight could go better if Curse actually pick out anyone besides Jarvan and they burst them down first, because then they'll have more cooldowns left for the rest of the team. Everyone else on Team Coast is a huge threat right now. Even Daydreamin actually is fairly threatening on his support Zyra.
Curse has a great fight in the future. Everything they want to do is AoE based around that one area they want to attack, right? That's what Coast wants to jump in on. So Curse can just kind of wait for that instance once more, get in a better position. Maybe they'll be able to come out harder with a few more kills. Daydreamin, again with this Oracles. We did see him kind of blow Flash a little earlier, keeping that alive. Voyboy, like you said, being very aggressive since the beginning of this game onto that Kassadin. As we look down at the inventories for a quick second here, both teams poising in mid. That Iceborne has been finished, and it's about a few core items for each member now. So these fights are definitely going to be to that full capacity of their abilities. Yeah,
and when you're looking at the next move for Curse, you have to worry about the lack of vision and lack of control of the entire map, because Coast have that Destiny available. Shiphtur right there was almost threatening even to go in and pull off a pick. At any point, you can have that Destiny come out, and they will chase you down if you get too far extended. So Team Curse really are forced to turtle back here and give up all these free dragons and free objectives to Coast.
Well, there's that gold once again. The fourth dragon, as you saw on your screen, going to Coast. It's been dragons and blues, so complete objective control coming from these guys over and over again. This time without even needing really any vision, but they have it completely on the side of Curse to make sure that they don't even get their camps right now.
And with that ward on Baron going out, Curse are all getting a little bit more nervous now, because there's definitely the potential for Coast to burst that Baron down. They don't even need Zion with them. So this is a very tenuous situation here for Curse, and it looks like they're trying to make their play on the solo split pusher.
ZionSpartan, look at that shield, just about 400 or 500 damage alone. Daydreamin so getting a return on that Oracle so far. He has cleared out so many wards from coast to coast. Here's another one going into his pocket. Oh, it just wore out. How unfortunate.
Can't see it anymore, but at least they know that there's one there, so they won't be walking into that. Curse, see, exactly, they're trying to catch someone out. They need to make a favorable sort of skirmish happen where they have the numbers, because if they don't, then they have been just getting trashed.
Well, Curse Communication right now is saying, Cop Farm, we cannot engage or don't be engaged on right now. So you can see him trying to get himself up, maybe get at least last whisper in here quite soon. He's starting to face quite a bit of armor.
What the Iceborne Gauntlet does open up for Cop is the potential to solo with ZionSpartan and keep that split pushing Riven in check, because if he's got a tower to fall back onto at least, then with the added cutting potential of the Iceborne Gauntlet, that can actually be Curse's answer here to the split push of Zion. But really, nobody else on their team can go heads up with that Riven at this point.
And it starts to get scary, because the first initial burst that Curse has is kind of that front end load of damage they'll be able to deliver. Then they kite around and do it again. With the Quicksilver coming out now, with the Guardian Angel, that's going to be sustained by, not sustained, but able to last through for Coast. So these fights are going to get harder as it goes on. Curse thought they were really going to be able to adapt to this, but it's, again, Coast adapting even better.
Yeah, Guardian Angel is a very popular item on Riven, because not only are her cooldowns fairly short, and the duration that the Guardian Angel will let you get back up will allow you to have dashes when you return up, but she also have ridiculous lifesteal, because with the Bloodthirster and her enhanced auto attacks from her passive, she can gain tremendous amounts of life after she does revive and heal up.
So taking this one in the bottom lane, this is where that split push again comes into play for these guys, and he may even go aggressive, puts the ward down to know he has the upper hand, and they're actually going to spread this one out.
They committed 2 people to that bottom lane, with Voyboy actually going over there too, so Coast take that opportunity to start up the Baron.
Another Oracle in the pocket. of Daydreamin keeps them safe here, and they are going to be able to pick up this Baron 30 minutes into the game, a 5-2 as both teams are just throwing wet noodles at each other this whole fight, going for turrets. Oh, Daydreamin gets hit up. He could go down quite fast. May not see Stranglethorns in this fight. The Baron may keep him alive. He goes down to Ignite. They have Saintvicious in their eyes, taken down by MashMe. Now in the chase, the tumble's in. It's only going to be a few shots, and he comes up with a double kill. Voyboy is the next in the eyes of Coast. He may try to direct him away from the base, but Shiphtur ports in with the Destiny, and it's ZionSpartan to pick it up with Wind Slash.
And they will not be able to kite that one any longer. Now Coast can easily just run up this middle, and they're going to even take the turret.
That's going to be good hits on a Nintendude. He's got to be careful of the crowd control they have there, though. That could definitely be painful. ZionSpartan says, don't worry, I got it, as they actually micro the damage in and out between themselves, going right onto Nyjacky. The Zanyas is only going to keep him alive for so long, but it looks good in the end. They're going to be able to get the inhibitor, Kobe, and a 30-minute push from Baron takes them all the way inside the base.
And they've got their first inhibitor down, 30-minute mark. They can go back and spend the money that they just received from not only Baron, but also that turret they just took down. And once again, the blue buff being denied from the double AP cast in Lissandra, just very huge in keeping them down. And having that Twisted Fate does reopen the siege potential here from Team Coast.
You know, we see a lot of teams that will go after the first, the second, the third blue buff, but these guys have had that blue buff's number this entire game. It didn't even really spawn in Curse's favor to begin with. Coast has lived in that jungle. They still have a security system of wards throughout it, and Curse has a few to guard their own. They don't have they have no offensive wards themselves.
Yeah, timing those buffs has always been very important and a very essential job of the jungler, but even more so now in the 3.8 patch, where the buffs have even increased experience gains. Continued timers are what the game is all about for counter jungling, and if you're able to control the blue, especially against a team like this, then you take out so many options from Team Curse.
I really like what Coast is doing, building optimal right now. Third item coming in is going to be a Hex Drinker for Nintendude. Knowing these fights will last a bit longer, that Voyboy and Nyjacky, you're getting those cooldowns now. So more magic resistance there. They are really itemizing well.
Yeah, and he's 100% worried about that burst down from Zio, because we saw him at the turret get bursted down. The shield from Hexdringer is just what he needs.
Oh, flash over the wall. Oh, he gets the ult to go over the wall. These guys, this is just the way the cookie crumbles. It has been unfortunate for Curse. They're doing all the right things.
That was extremely unfortunate. He barely got out of the ultimate there from Lissandra 2, the Frozen Tomb, just in time to miss the hook from Edward. So there was no lockdown that was there from Curse, and it opens up the top to Team Coast.
And that's the outside poke. That's from Daydreamin. Just Daydreamin able to get in with some damage right now. It looks like they're going to continuously push onto this. They have all three lanes, including a ZionSpartan in the bottom lane, pushed up.
Yeah, they're trying to have Cop answer ZionSpartan, but look, he can't even hold up the damage on Zion. He's just taking that turret heads up.
There's a quick Q and W from Nyjacky and Edward. Nintendude just kind of walks away from it. The crowd control not meaning much to him. MashMe on the outside, soaking up everything that he can, and it's going to be the turret next for Coast.
Both of the top and bottom are in trouble here. It looks like they're going to get this one down, and another inhibitor.
Knowing that ultimate is down on Nyjacky just gives them so much free roam. Now Ness is coming in from the outside. Saint has it onto MashMe, but they know they can't dive it. Shiphtur's yellow card just wore off, so they have a slight window, but they don't have the entry. Daydreamin, it's still Zyra. He can still stop any dive.
Voyboy has really not been able to get off his combo on that Kassadin. Now Jackie's caught.
Locking it in as they go into the fight. Jacky throws down the Zion. Stranglethorns as well comes in. Zion still pushing the bottom lane, and they're going to continue all the Cataclysm onto Saint, forcing the flash. ZionSpartan with Shiphtur continuing the fight on the Cop. They are not letting Curse blink or breathe in their own base right now. 33 minutes in, Coast looks to take the Nexus out.
They got one Nexus turret down, and they're going on the second one. Curse are up, though, 4 versus 5.
Jacky dives in once more. The Zanyas is down, but he throws the ultimate down to himself. The invulnerability is there, but is it enough crowd control? ZionSpartan looking to pop his Zanyas, or rather, Guardian Angel for himself. The shield goes on, he stays alive. The Nexus turret doesn't have the same fate.
Jacky does finally take him down, and now DontMashMe's under...
Back onto Edward. It's going to be Edward trying to go in. No! MashMe able to push him away. A few more kills. They're going to get a quick pause on the game. Why? It's going down so quick. The Nexus is so close. They are unpausing it. They get a good laugh in. It's us on the screen. What's going on? The game is going to be over. Coast able to take this one out. A very well-played game versus Curse.
Congratulations to Curse, to Coast right there. They actually get a few more seconds to enjoy that Nexus exploding. Take a little picture in sepia tone and upload that one to Instagram, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And Adoran's Blade Jarvan from the start. They tried to be aggressive. They actually put all of themselves. They put themselves in the jungle and then almost straight walked into an engagement that they forced Curse out of. So they had a powerful group just to start with. Curse didn't want anything.
Yeah, so let's talk about this early game setup from Coast. They completely planned out how the first 10 minutes of this game would roll. Nintendude did not waste any quintessences in his rune page or money on sustain through the early jungle. Just went with the Doran's Blade. He knew as soon as I get both buffs, those are really the giant chunks of experience from the jungle. I'll just get those, return to base, and immediately head to lane for lane farm. And Saintvicious did the same thing, so he didn't really get much out of that early advantage of being able to go for a gank. So it was a great move by Coast. They dictated the pace of the game from the very beginning. Just the early swap right there just completely steamrolled Curse.
Early pressure on pretty much everything. Seeing the double AP comp as well, always stealing away the blue buff. The first one went to them because they were like, all right, yeah, we'll see what happens after this. But the top lane pressure allowed them to continuously go after the blue. They got 4 dragons, then the Baron. The first Baron push got them the inhibitor, and it was, home free from there.
Pretty much the whole story was Team Coast, but what I did like from Curse was the Kassadin sort of sneaky pick there and switch at the end where they gave Voyboy that solo lane in the middle to go on TF and keep TF down, which is a good strategy by forcing the jungler into lanes with Saintvicious going top. It allowed Kassadin to get through the early laning phase, but they weren't able to capitalize on it because of the domination of the split lanes there.
And just a quick little fact, you saw at the end of the game, ZionSpartan with 100% on Riven, so it looks like he still has 100% on Riven coming into that game, and he went 2-0-4, so it's pretty sweet play.
And he didn't even win that Best Riven NA tournament, so North America's got some good Rivens.
So we've got to take a short break, but when we return, Team Coast Shiphtur will join us to talk about taking down Curse, then Team Solo Mid and Velocity Esports will take to the Rift for our 5th match of the day, the 2013 NA LCS